Okay, so today we're going to be finding sides algebraically, finding compound area, and finding volumes of prisms. Ideally, you should watch this before attempting all the questions on today's worksheets. Okay, so the first thing to do on these compound shape questions is obviously read it. So in this case, we have what looks like a rectangle attached to a triangle. So the first thing I would do is I would actually draw this on. So if I draw that, I get this. Okay, then the next thing I do is I then label as much as you can. So label as much as you can. Okay, so in this case, we know that this length has to be 5 centimeters. The reason why this length has to be 5 is because this whole length must equal 9. If that's 4, that has to be 5. Okay, so now what about this length over here? So we know that the entire thing is 20, and this section here is 8. 20 minus 8 is 12. So we write 12 centimeters. Then it says work out the area. So to work out the area, work out each individual shape and add it up. So work out each shape and then add up. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work out the rectangle. So to work out the rectangle, obviously it's length times width. So 9 times 8 is going to be 72. So area of, let's say, the rectangle is going to be 72. Okay. The area of a triangle, remember, so area of triangle is half base times height. Half base times height, so base is going to be 12. Remember, the base should be perpendicular to the height. So this 12 centimeters, yes, it is perpendicular to the 5 centimeters. So it's going to be half times 12 times 5. So if we do that, what we end up with is we end up with 30. Now the whole shape is going to be when you add the rectangle plus the triangle. So the rectangle we know is 72. So 72 plus the area of the triangle, which is 30. So 72 plus 30 is going to be 112 centimeters squared. Don't forget your units, but remember, only put your units at the end. Never put them at the beginning. And never put them into equations. So for example, over here, we don't write 12 centimeters, we just write 12. Okay, moving on to volume. Okay, so this is similar to the other question. It's just a 3D version of a compound shape. So the first thing I do is I would split it up. So if I split it up down here, okay, so remember, first split it up. Once you've split it up, I would label as much as you can. So this side, of course, this side, if the whole length is 7 and this bit is 2, then of course this thing must be 5. So I'd write 5 centimeters over here. Now we know that's 2, so we can leave it. This length is 4, and if the whole length is 9, then this side must be 5 centimeters. Okay, so now we can work it out. To be honest, this 5 centimeters is a bit useless, but it doesn't do any harm to label as much as you can, which I'd suggest you do anyway. So this section over here, we're going to do 7 times 4 and then multiply the entire thing by 10. So that is going to equal 280 centimeters cubed. Remember the formula for volume, so volume is equal to length times height times width. So the length is going to be 10, the height is going to be 7, and the width is effectively going to be 4. So 7 times 4 times 10 is that. The other way you can think about it is work out the value of the face, so this bit over here, and then multiply it by the entire length, which is what we've done. Okay, so let's do the next one. So this one over here, the face bit, this bit over here is 5 times 2. So remember, height times width, so height times width. And then we're going to multiply by the length, or the depth actually. We should really change that to depth. So if we change that if we do the depth, which is again, actually I've made an error. Let's keep that length times height times width. It's 5 times 2. So it's 5 times 2. Remember, the height is 2, the width is 5, 5 times 2, and then we're going to multiply it by the 10. So 5 times 2 times 10 is going to be 100 centimeters cubed. Now remember, the entire volume is this section over here plus that section over there. So if we do 280 plus 100, we get 380 centimeters cubed. And that is the total volume. Remember, stick your units at the end, never put them into the equation. So, to recap, remember the volume is length times height times width. It's simply just the face, the front bit, and then you multiply it by the depth or the length, whatever you want to call it. Remember, whenever you've got compound shapes, first split it up, label as much as you can. You see this 5? In this case, it wasn't very helpful, which we already knew, but in other questions it could be, so label as much as you can. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so this is a slightly harder question. So, first thing to do is read it. The cuboid container below holds 12 litres of water when full. 1 litre is 1,000 centimetres cubed. The inside length and the width of the cube are 40 centimetres and 20 centimetres. What is the height of the cube? So the first thing I'd do is I'd make a ratio. So over here they've given you like a ratio. So it says 1 litre is 1,000 centimetres. So litres to centimetres cubed. So it tells you 1 litre is 1,000 centimetres cubed. We don't need the units. So length, litres to centimetres cubed is 1 to 1,000. Okay, that's fine. So it now tells you that the cuboid below holds 12 litres when full. So if it holds 12 litres, can we not work out its volume? Yes, we can. So remember, with a ratio, you divide by its own, and then you multiply by the new. So it tells you that it holds 12 litres. So 12, if I divide it by its own, 12 divided by 1,000, 12 divided by 1, and then if I multiply by the new. So if I multiply by the new, which is 1,000, that just equals 12,000 centimeters cubed. So this entire thing, this box holds 12,000 centimeters cubed of water. Okay, that's fine. We've worked something out. So then it says inside length and width of the cube are 40 centimeters and 20. What is the height of the cube? So the first thing I'd do is I'd form an equation. So what equation can we make to link these three things together? Now it's volume. So we can do height times this times that to get volume. So V equals H, and then we can do 20 times 40. So volume is going to be equal to 800 H. Now, can we do anything else? Yes, this V, we know that volume is 12,000, so if we substitute that in, so we get 12,000 equals 800 H. Actually, let's make that capital. Okay. Now, we need to solve for H, because it's asking us what's the height. So to find H, we divide both sides by 800, so 12,000 over 800, and that equals 15. So we can write therefore height is equal to 15 centimeters. So to recap, the first thing we did was find the volume. Now in this case they've given us a ratio, but normally they'll just give you the volume. But either way, we've worked out the volume. We worked out the volume is 12,000 centimeters cubed. What we then did is we then made an equation to link these together. Normally the equation is just the volume equation. So volume equals height times width times the length or the depth. And then what we did was we substituted the 12,000 for the volume. Okay, and we simplified this, so we ended up with 12,000 equals 800 H. Now to get H on its own, we got rid of the 800, and then we got H is equal to 14. Now, moving on to this. If we read it, in the shape below, the rectangle has a height that is 3 times as large as its width. What is the area of the shaded rectangle? Now, I've forgotten to tell you what the total area is, so if I tell you that the perimeter of the rectangle is, let's say, it's 8 meters. Okay, so let's stick with our normal approach. Our normal approach is step 1, diagram. In the diagram, you want to label as much as possible. Step 2, equations. Step 3 is solve. So, in the diagram, have we got any labels? No. So we're going to add labels. So it tells you that the rectangle has a height that is 3 times as large as its width. Obviously it doesn't look like it, but in the exam they don't normally draw it to scale. So the height is going to be 3x and the width is going to be x. The reason why is that it's told you that the height is 3 times as large as its width. Now formally you'd write let x equals width. Then it tells you the perimeter of the rectangle is 8 meters. So what do you know? You know the perimeter is going to be the outside edge. The outside edge is going to be x plus this x. So we're going to have 2x. So if we label that as x, that's 3x. So x plus x is 2x plus this side and that side, which is going to be 6x. That equals 8x. And it's told you that the perimeter is 8. Oh, not 8. So it tells you that the perimeter is 8. So if the perimeter is 8, we can write 8x is equal to 8. So therefore x is equal to 1. Why? We just divided both sides by 8 to get rid of this. So we get x is equal to 1 meter. Okay, so I'm just going to rub this out over here so we've got a bit more space to work with. Okay, so now it's told you now it's asking you to find what is the area of the shaded rectangle. Now the first thing we need to know is that the formula for the area of a rectangle, triangle, area of triangle is half base times height. So the half stays the same. Now what is the base? The base is this bit over here. And we've just found that x is 1 meter. So half times 1. And then it's told you what is the height. Now the height is 3x. 3 times 1 is going to be 3. If we put that into the calculator, we get 1.5 meters squared. And there is our answer done. So to recap, what did we do? The first thing we did is we read the question, obviously, and then we label the diagram. So when we label the diagram, we always use some sort of a variable if we don't know length. In this case, we didn't know the width or the height, so we just use x. So then what we did was we then put x and we put 3x. And then we worked out the formula for the perimeter. Now once we've worked out the formula for the perimeter, we know that perimeter equals 8. So if perimeter equals 8, we can make this equal to that. And then what we did was then we solved for x. We found x was 1 meter. Once we found x was 1 meter, we wrote down the formula for the area of a triangle. Now this bit's important because it's actually asking us not for the area of the rectangle, but the area of the shaded triangle. So we have a half stays the same. Now the base was 1. Now why was it 1? Was because this length is x and x is 1. Now the height is 3. Now if you remember, it's very, very important that the height is perpendicular to the base. And this height is 3x. 3 times 1 is 3. We put it all into the equation and we got 1.5 meters squared. Okay, this should be enough to help you answer the other questions. If you get stuck on any of the questions, then simply just come back to the video and see how I've done it, and then you can try copy the method.